Hey guys, welcome back. This is Champions Concessions, and I am Michael Derrick, and I'm here with Josh and Lisa again, and we are going to continue our conversation that we had last week, where we were talking about Lisa and her diagnosis and her daughters, and how it's impacted their lives and their families and work life and everything else. And so thank you guys for joining us again, and we're going to get back to our conversation. Right. And when you're able to be there for your family, it's not going on in the back of your mind. It's it's right there. You're seeing it, so you don't have to be distracted by it.
Right.
Right. And it's kind of bad to say, but you can almost ignore it because you're there with it.
Well, yeah, and he used to be gone, and you could tell he was distracted. I'd call him halfway through the day, he'd be like, "Do I need to come home?" I'm like, "No, we're fine." And it was always that, "Do I need to come home?" And it's not that anymore with him working from home. And one of the big things that I've noticed with him working from home is, like, when he has to run us to appointments, because my driving abilities are not high every day. Like, some days I can't drive, some days I can, because my seizures affect my legs. So he can go take us to an appointment an hour away. He can sit there for an hour and work while on the road, like in the car with his, and they come pick me up, and then like go on with life and work at night once the girls are asleep and still get his work done for the day. And I think that's a huge thing that employers need to understand. With connection, like, he has a buddy now around here. He can connect, he can go ride his bike off road, do whatever. I don't have that anymore since we've moved back to Texas. I don't have that. I used to have girlfriends that I could go with and do Special Olympics with our kids and have conversation, and like, the Special Olympics groups aren't the same here as they were there. Like, Colorado was a different type of like group of people because there was such an influx of like acknowledgement of special needs, where some places aren't that way.
Right.
Like, for my own condition, like, I had a relapse in January, had one episode in October, then I had a relapse in January, and my relapse in January took me, I collapsed getting out of our car, and I told him, he said, "Do you want me to take you in?" I said, "No, this is the same feeling I started having with the first one. Send me to the ER, call an ambulance." And we were in a campground, and we had been in that campground for some time because he was doing some work for the campground, and was like deer in headlights. Like, not even, "Hey Josh, can we help you with the girls? Can we?" Nothing.
Yeah.
It's like the support isn't there, and people need to understand that support doesn't mean you're paying somebody money.
Right.
They need to realize maybe that means taking an hour of your time and saying, "Hey, you just ended up in the ER. You just went following your wife to the ER. Would you like me to take the girls the next day so that you can go sit with your wife, or so that you can go to work?"
Yeah.
And fortunately, in that scenario, we did have some friends step up to help us and everything, but that's not always the case. That's not everybody. It's just in general. People looking at what can I do to help. A parent and everything, or with the situation that they're in, just lending a hand is huge. I mean, yes. We have special needs children. They're very, very special, but they're not unmanageable. They're not, something that you can't assist with, and even at a short period of time.
Do a load of laundry, for God's sake, it helps somebody. I mean, like, I'm not being mean, but a load of laundry, maybe sending a pizza.
Yeah. It's a lot of times it's the little things, and that's why we feel really blessed that we moved here to Ellis County. Because Ellis County has a very high population of people that have disabilities, and so it's more accepted in the school district, and they work harder with you. More people here, they all acknowledge. Someone pulled up last night and was talking to us. They're like, "Yeah, my child has autism," and it's more commonplace, and so there's a chance for that community.
Yeah.
And so, as we kind of wrap up here, I want to one, encourage you guys because when we got our daughter's diagnosis, she has a genetic condition where there's a duplication of the chromosome, and there's a certain percentage of the chromosome that is duplicated. And they basically say the more that duplication, the more of an impact it's going to have. There are people that have less of a duplication that have more of an impact than our daughter has.
Wow.
That's the same thing with our youngest daughter.
Yeah. And so just understand, just because they said that Ava has a greater percentage and that it's going to impact her life more, they don't have a clue, and please, any doctors that are watching, don't take offense to this, but I always have this little kind of running joke that doctors are practicing medicine. They're anytime we outside of a business where you have a practice, you say that you are you're doing this business. And if you're practicing something, you're trying to get it right.
Yep.
Right.
True.
And so I know to doctors this could be kind of insulting, and I apologize, but when it comes to things like genetics, just because they say that you have a gene that's going to do this, or there's a chromosome that's going to do that, or you got this duplication, and there's this, hanging whatever, that's going to cause problems, just because it's there doesn't mean that it's active and it's doing anything.
Right.
And so, Ava could end up being perfectly fine that has this genetic anomaly that is completely turned off and completely benign, and it could go from, yes, there are impacts, to all of a sudden those genes get turned off and she doesn't. And so just be encouraged that, God can do whatever He wants. He wrote the genes, and He can turn them off so that she grows up and doesn't have all the struggles that you've had.
Right.
Because I know that you see all the struggles that you've had, and you don't want that for your daughter.
Yeah.
And just because she has the diagnosis doesn't mean she is that diagnosis.
No, she isn't. And
And
I mean,
so
we've been there.
Yeah, you've been there. And so just understand that just like we're praying that God's going to rewrite, Becca's DNA to whatever amount He wants, He will do what He wants.
Yeah.
And we're just there to acknowledge that God is in control.
Very true.
Yep.
Okay?
Very true.
And so I also want to say something to any employers that are watching this. Understand that parents with special needs aren't trying to slack off if they ask for time at home, or if they're asking to work remote. One of the hardest workers you will ever find is a special needs parent, because they have to struggle every single day. Whether they're at work or they're at home, they're on the clock or they're off the clock. It's always a struggle. And so if you are an employer and you're watching this, as we're wrapping this up, the last thing that I want you to think about is, how can I support my employees that have a special need? Whether it's a spouse, a parent, a child, or they themselves have some type of special need. You have to really ask, how can I support them, and how can they be the best that they can be? Because they will be hard workers, and you will never get a more loyal employee than whenever you take that type of personal interest in their life and you work with them. And so, I just ask you to really think about it. And so, guys, as we wrap this up, I want to thank you both for coming in and sharing your stories and sharing us about Ava and sharing about Gracelyn. You guys are an inspiration.
Thanks.
And
Appreciate
so just know that we're here for you, and we're praying for you guys, and we're excited to see what God does, because like you said, every moment is a miracle. Every moment is a gift from God, and just keep treasuring those gifts.
Yep.
Thank you guys for joining us. Once again, this is Michael with Champions Concessions. Have a great week.